you been smoking, CW? You turned into Pooh Bar.
It's my brilliant disguise. You like it? The humans will never see it coming.
Right? Yes, it makes me feel really at home. A little touch of Britain.
Listen, Operation Blue Avian couldn't have happened better. I told everyone at high command thought I was an idiot, right? Blue Avians. No one will buy it. No one will buy it, right? Idiots. Human beings. Idiots, right? So check this out now. Now that the pump is primed, we got everybody believing in the Blue Avians, right? Then we got Corey Goodhart, and no one thought they believed in Corey Good, right? Everyone thought this guy can't make it happen. I said, the kid stays in the picture. He's got what it takes. He's got what it takes. I believe in this guy. Who would think that an Academy Award-winning actor like Nicolas Cage could be willing to have that much plastic surgery to turn into Corey Good? But he pulled it off. He really did it. So now, stage 2. So everyone's worried about the Blue Avians, right? And then the Blue Avians disappear, right? Crazy like a fox, right? Now that everyone is thinking that the Blue Avians are gone, I take my final form as Blue Booba over here. Check this guy out. Who's going to be scared of this guy, right? To serve man. They'll never see me fucking coming, right? So now I'm this guy, right? I'm in my final form as this guy. Don't worry about me, right? Loud, aggressive CW chanter. Who's that guy? I got no idea. I'm Blue Ball Guy. Look at me, huh? Oh, yeah.
You've got some music, so...
absolutely. Check this out. Listen. Check this out. Hold on, watch. Pay no attention to the man behind the hand. Hold on. All right, that's how I get the kids. Everybody loves a fart joke. Boom. Right? So there you go. So the humans will never see it coming. I mean, look, all we got to make sure is that our emergency transmissions don't go out accidentally live on YouTube. As long as we can keep this conversation under wraps, right, and nobody tunes in, I think we're great. Listen, I'm telling you, this CW Chanter channel, no one pays attention. I'm telling you. Corey Good, that guy brings in like 50,000 views, right? You and me, trust me, no one is even paying attention. And bonus, we're playing by the Illuminati rules, right? We got to tell them. We got to technically tell them. So what could be better? We tell them. What are they going to do? It's like the pod people. What are they going to do? Take to the streets and start complaining? Yeah, a blue fuzzy ball type guy and a guy in a ski mask and a captain's hat and a tuxedo are going to take over the world. They'll laugh them out of court. They'll never believe it. They wouldn't even believe that on Jimmy Church. They wouldn't even buy that in Contact in the Desert. We're golden, baby. We're effing golden. Pay no attention to the ants. I'm telling you, get involved. So there you go. I'm going to transform back into my normal everyday self for a second, okay? Here we go. Hold on. Through the magic of practical effects, like, woo, woo, whoa, boom. Let me get my my stool out of the way. So I'm telling you, right? So stage number 1, excuse me, let me fix my Morty hair. We got this. We got this. Wait. Uh-oh. We've got viewers. Ooh, who saw this coming? Well, okay, so listen, audience at home, what you need to understand is everything I said was just a joke, right? We're just joking around. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Listen, oh, you know what? It was all an elaborate plan. I, CW Chanter, your hero, have caught him out in the wild. The masters of the Illuminati. Gig's up. The jig's up. You reptilian mastermind. I've got you. And we'll now explain to the people how we're gonna solve the Illuminati, Masters of the Illuminati problem, and then they won't have to worry about the Masters of the Illuminati. Go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. And then everything is sure to be fine.
Okay, before we start, I thought I'd bring you a gift. That's traditional for the Masters of the Illuminati.
Well, you know, so absolutely, and you know, nothing could be more appropriate than say before we start, because that's it. Here we go. So a gift. You know, if I like anything, I like gifts.
And it's a chant.
Oh, even
here
better.
We go. And it's a little bit nautical as well. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need.
Absolutely. And we would like to take this moment to thank our commercial sponsors, the Tavistock Institute. Tavistock. Pay no attention to the man behind the screen. Tavistock. All right. How you doing, Matt? Oh, you know what? This is uncomfortable. It's actually a phone call from my mother. It's a good thing you have the ukulele, because honestly, I forgot that I'm supposed to put something in the outside mailbox for my mother. Hold on. It'll take me literally 3 seconds to bound up these stairs in the height of professionalism. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Hold on. I will be right back. I will be so sorry. I'll be right back. Hold on. I tell you, folks, best laid plans of the Masters of the
I see it.
Absolutely. This is what kept us out of Washington. This is why our fingerprints were all over JFK. But listen, we'll get it together one of these days, right? Keep reaching for that rainbow. So sorry about that. How you doing? How you doing, my friend? What's new with the Masters of the Illuminati?
We nearly finished the album. We got a lot more tracks out now. We got at least 5 tracks up on our YouTube site with videos and a little bit of background of where we come from as well. So we'll have that info up at the end of the interview.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I have to tell you, CW, disclosure is difficult from a human and an alien perspective.
Tell me about it. Frustrating. It's hard out here for a bitch.
For you guys on the other side of the fence, guys like Stephen Greer running around the planet and whatnot, looking for aliens, and here we are. We got like a YouTube channel like everybody else on Earth,
you know.
We're up for interviews because we want to plug the album, and of course it just doesn't work. We're shouting hey over here.
Yeah, and I thought that my backwards masking on your last couple of video singles would really set us off, but you know what I mean? It's all about the marketing. I don't know what it is. You know? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We're just going to keep on having to hit that grindstone like everybody else until we pop through. The ironic thing is this is like, as you said, people are going disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. And I'm like, have you been to Walmart lately? They're all around us. You know what I mean? I blame society.
That's the truth of the matter, that if there were intervening type aliens who got involved and had like funky weapons and stuff, you'd know all about it straight away. Zap goes to the White House. Everybody gets a mind control chip. Job done. Bang off a couple of million people just in case to reinforce it. You know, disclosure's really easy if you do it that way. And it kind of proves that luckily enough, there's not that kind of aliens stalking around your bit of the galaxy. Otherwise, you would know. But if you've got a non-intervening, kind of laid-back kind of alien, we're going to be like polite guests. You're not going to know we're here. We don't like to come into somebody's living room and shit on the carpet, basically, is our philosophy.
Right.
And when you arrive on your planet, that's what we do. We try to behave like proper guests, enjoy the whole human experience, which is a really funky thing, and it's going to be really sad to see it go. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm sending my farewell cards now.
I've checked out some of your recent videos, and obviously they were about one specific issue,
right?
But the thing that brings all the alien rock fans in the galaxy to Earth right now is that it's not just that issue. Funnily enough, humans are great at muddling through. You've muddled through for the last 10 years with a non-existent economy, with banks that are based on fairy dust. And 10 years later, the whole show's on the road. Nobody could predict it. Nobody could predict you. That is a tribute to both human intelligence and human stupidity. And it's likely that the Guy McPherson stuff you've been talking about, which is quite chilling, and makes me think I better hurry up and plug the album.
You better listen, you know what I mean?
But I reckon human beings can muddle through that one, just like they muddled through the financial crisis and survive without an environment, just as the way that they survive without a proper economic system and things go on. But the scary thing is, it's not just those two things. It's governments, left and right, are ceasing to be able to function properly. Germany didn't have a government for nearly 6 months after the last election. It's hard to get proper majorities. And of course, you have what happened in America, where you think you've been given 2 radical approaches, and then you find out it's the same person at the end of the day, that government systems are not working, economy's gone, environment's on the way out. Those are all symptoms of a society where technology has reached the tipping point.
Yeah. You know, I mean, how much more intimately connected can we get? You know what I mean? This technology thing is that it's bananas. But look, you know, my attitude about it is this: is that as far as, you know, I mean, I wasn't surprised when I finally met you guys and realized that that Stephen Greer, for all his faults and his foibles, was correct into one thing, is that all the aliens that I've encountered seem to be pretty righteous dudes. And I'm wondering, I got this theory, maybe you could check, let me know if I'm onto the right track here, is that the same level of intelligence that is necessary for interstellar or interdimensional travel is exactly the same amount of intelligence necessary to figure out there's no point in being a jerk.
That's pretty much the way it is, but with brass knobs on. That although
you don't want to lose the brass knobs. I mean, the brass knobs, that's your, you know what I mean?
Yes, and I'm fairly
that's your hook.
Not English, so half of my language you won't understand because it's alien. It's old-fashioned British, and nobody knows what it means anymore outside of my coterie of rock and roll survivors. So I am due for a shapeshift fairly soon. So yeah, I do want to really enjoy this planet while I can. And
right
it might
before
not.
Your language completely goes out of fashion.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been following. You also talked about nanotechnology in one of your interviews, which is where the being a decent guy and the nanotechnology come together, is that you can't operate nanotechnology without a certain level of empathy. It's quantums and less. It's nothing.
Right.
You can't turn on a switch and operate it. So that's another reason why you don't get so many obnoxious aliens around, because they're not going to be able to make it through space, as you probably noticed.
Right, too much infighting on the voyage. You know what I mean? You knock yourself out of the box over who's first round in the bathroom in the morning.
it can happen like that, and as most spaceships are fairly small.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, but here's my thing. I don't know if this will work. They laughed me out of MIT when I suggested this.
Yeah.
But I was there actually when they were planning, when nanotechnology was first, coming into fruition. For people who don't know, I mean, me and the Masters of the Illuminati, he mentioned his old style of speaking and his old time as a musician. Time traveling, we go back thousands of years, you and me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I lose track of the number of lifetimes where it's like, But I just want, for all the people that think that I'm BSing at home, I have some proof here. Hold on. Here's a little bit of photographic evidence to confirm my story of being an Illuminati time traveler. Both.
Yeah, you are. Can you still play a few licks on the trumpet?
I forgot. Sometime around lifetime number 3, they were telling me, you got to keep on practicing. And I was like, I got this. And then, you know what I mean? Still not allowed back in New Orleans. It was unbelievable. Talk about timing, right? But if anyone wants to confirm that C.W. Chanter, in fact, is a time-traveling Illuminati mastermind, all you got to do is look for any old photos of this guy, Al Hurt. First of all, check out the neuro-linguistic programming. I mean, if anybody knows Masters of the Illuminati, ironically, plays for the good guys. And hey, listen, you find a niche and you stick with it. So I've always been playing for Team Darkside. Check out that Illuminati NLP mastermind programming. Al Hurt. Get it? All Hurt.
Yeah, yes, it's the subliminal message is in the words, isn't it?
That was the original trademark for NLP. NLP, it's all in the words. You know what I mean? Somehow the message got garbled. I don't know. But in nanotechnology, you go.
Yeah, NLP is a step in the right direction because it's looking at the issue of human emotions and how they interact with the conscious decisions you make. And that's the technology that isn't moving forward at all on Earth at the moment. So at the speed your technical technology goes, how can you keep up with those kind of changes? How can you feel comfortable when your whole lifestyle and career and the place you live changes every few months or every few years instead of several lifetimes? It's just too fast for people to take on board, and the technology is not a mechanical fix to fix it. It's in the emotions, so that if you have a robust emotional system, you can take all those shocks and go forward, have new technology, and most important of all, when automation comes in, everybody's going to be sitting on their ass. There's like nothing to do. So if you haven't got an emotionally literate like thing going on, when that happens, it's pretty much game over. Even if the other stuff doesn't happen, you can't keep your society going without a hierarchy or without some kind of emotional bond between people. That means they don't need a hierarchy anymore.
Right.
But the good news is if you get through the other side and you survive the upsets of the technological journey, it's really funky. It is like the Stone Age with Fender Strats and spaceships thrown in. So you do get the funkiest life possible. And the line between magic and reality gets blurred, and fantasy and reality, as you've already noticed, as your world goes into a virtual world because you can't afford, after paying your rent, to go out into the real world and do proper things.
That's expensive. You know what I mean? Go virtual. Go small or go home.
It's already happened. People are forced into a fantasy world that becomes more important than their real world. But in the future world, if you want a flying carpet, you can have something that looks like a flying carpet. Not through magic, but through level 3 technology. Once you get to that level, anything you can imagine is possible. So it is quite worthwhile to try and survive and not like frazzle the old environment, or do what's currently going on, which is more technology on top of the problems caused by the last level of technology. It's actually a race. But that's why I like your show, because it's a very empathic show. And
that's what I keep on telling people.
It's your viewers are a really nice bunch, and it doesn't turn in. There is some entertaining slagging going on, but it's not the slag fest of some other sites you could go on where it's just a long list of swear words one after another.
Listen, the night is young. You know what I mean? It takes a while for the trolls to wake up. They got to figure out their best line. They got to pick their socks. I mean, 9 times out of 10, the reason the trolls end up coming into my live stream a little bit later into the performance is I figured it out. It's that they got to wait for a minute to pick the right sock. They're like, Oh,
like probing for weaknesses.
Yeah. I used Bozo CW Chanter blowjob giver last time, and I went with Gray's face last time. Maybe it's time for a little pink hued CW Chanter's mama. You know what I mean? And hey, listen, I don't look. The thing about my trolls that come out is that consummate professionals. They're always dicing it up. They got different lines. If they said "F you" next week, it's going to be your mom this week. God bless them. But let me run this by you. So here's what I'm thinking. You have Arthur C. Clarke out there who goes, the highest level of technology will be indistinguishable from magic, right? Yeah. And then you had Albert Einstein, who was like, after World War III, World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. And, I think that I figured it out. You might be able to tell me based on your galactic history, if I'm on the right track here. They're both right. The sticks and stones are magic. That while we might believe that World War IV has happened in some post-apocalyptic world where we've been blown back to the Stone Age, in fact, it's a higher level of technology that's going on that is digitally recreated through massive computational quantum physics computers, the perfect rendered illusion of life in the Stone Age. Am I through the looking glass? Am I at the precipice of the concave surface of the lens?
You're absolutely right by identifying the Stone Age as a superior time to now. Right. And from our point of view as aliens, we would certainly see your Stone Age ancestors as more advanced than what's currently going on. And the reason is that they developed technology at a speed in a way that actually benefited them and made their lives better without any unpleasant consequences or environmental destruction. That they were actually, it looks to us in the modern world like they were standing still. But every few thousand years, a minor advance that made life slightly better without anybody losing their job, or, well, they didn't have jobs to worry about in those days, without losing anything or land or whatnot from each invention. So as an alien, I would say that they were totally in control of their technology, and they used technology to make life better. I don't think, although I love planet Earth and I love the cultural melee that's kicking off as technology kicks off, it's just fabulous to see, and important for us to see it before it's gone. But in the Stone Age, culture was superior. In the modern age, even as an alien, when I have to live with like first level technology and you have to learn technical stuff, I find my life constrained by technology rather than benefited. Whereas the Stone Age, every bit of technology you had, by the Neolithic, life was very, very comfortable. I didn't arrive till about 3,000 years ago on a school trip when I was no higher than a newt. And it's important for us to see other planets so that, like, the inhibitions we have about getting involved are put into us at a very early age. It's a big responsibility coming to another planet when you know loads of stuff and they don't know quite so much stuff. So anyway, we were there 3,000 years ago, about 1,000 years BC, just as a crippling civilization collapse had happened all across Egypt. So it was a good object lesson for us why you don't fuck around with systems, that they can collapse just as easily by themselves. But even 1,000 years BC, a lot of Stone Age people were still there. A lot of land hadn't been taken over, or farming technology hadn't made it arable. And the Stone Age went on for a lot longer than people imagine. So I hung out with the guys in the Stone Age, and it's very funky. It's like a disco party. They had
drugs, I hear.
200,000 years of continuous culture, remembering the best bits through oral and musical traditions, versus 10,000 years. Their songs and their art was really funky. And even Picasso nearly gave up painting when he saw what Stone Age guys were doing. So from our point of view, yes, the Stone Age was a superior culture, but unfortunately, once you take that first step down the technology race, you hit the technology barrier and you've got to go through it or not go through it, as the case may be. So, but there's a lot of aliens here all rooting for you.
Right. I wish they would root louder. You know what I mean? It seems that people can't get what they want. The people that are meeting the aliens seem to be having,
Well, as I say, if we all like bought our amplifiers from home and switched them up to 10, there would be a tidal wave tsunami which would wipe out nearly all humans and a big chunk of life on the planet. And then disclosure would be very easy and it would be instant, and we'd get to chat whoever was left seriously very quickly.
But they might be a little PO'd at the fact that like 2/3 of the Earth's population, like, thank God you're here, and we're grateful for disclosure. But that's the thing about humans, right? We're never happy, no matter what you do. Even if there was full disclosure, right? Even if you guys took off the masks and just walked around, everyone would be like,
That's exactly it. If you don't do it,
reptilians are walking around amongst us. Sure, they are.
If you don't do it Hollywood style with flutes and whistles and explosions and CGI, then it is really, really difficult for an advanced alien to actually interact as an alien on your planet. For a start, we're going to look human, either because we're shapeshifters or for some other species it has to be exoskeletons. So we're going to look pretty human. We're here to lead a human life, and we're not allowed to bring our stuff down with us. So we can't like hand out level 3 technology like confetti. And if we did, you couldn't operate it. So it's quite quite safe. But that's exactly why we don't intervene, because it would just make things worse. And even if
how is that possible? How is it possible to make things worse at this point? I mean, I really feel like I mean, like, for my money, I feel like we've gotten to things so messed up that literally under the Trump administration now, we're living in like a post irony world. Like, you can't even, like, sarcasm doesn't even work. It's been blotted out of existence. Things are so messed up here, or maybe it's just my perception.
It's happening everywhere. Countries to the left, in the middle, in the right, or a mixture of all three. Their governments are becoming comical, and their ability to maintain that hierarchy, especially when the jobs go and they don't have henchmen anymore. You can't support a society that's hierarchical without henchmen. So all that is tumbling down, which is a good thing, because hierarchies really, really suck. We don't have hierarchies.
Right. You know, and I hate to be this guy, but I got to interrupt and say, you know, I'm getting another message from YouTube High Command. Apparently, you know, not to be humanist about it, but your use of the term henchman. I've just gotten a notification. It's the rules have changed. We are now required to use the gender neutral term, hench person.
Okay, I'll go with that. Hench persons.
Right.
Yeah.
Witch hunts are still approved. That's cool. We're still allowed to engage in witch hunts, and political oppression of anyone we disagree with is still copacetic and cool. But we're gonna have to goon too. I've been told that they're still in committee. I'll get an update when they get out of the committee. They haven't decided what the gender neutral form of goon is, because there's no agreement, because apparently literally 49% of the people in the Grand Council think that it's sexist to assume that goon was a patriarchal term of oppression. And there's some that are even suggesting that the original meaning of goon was a tough woman. Hey, the Stone Age. Maybe we're due. Maybe we should go back there.
Sexual Politics again was.
That was the name of my third album.
It was very different
to the second album, Sexual Politics.
It's more important because that affects like your life in the bedroom.
Hey, listen.
So, if you haven't got the hang of sexual politics and what's fashionable and what isn't, but in the Stone Age, it was much more equal. Much more equal. You can see it in the archaeology that you don't get massive statues of men, you get statuettes of Earth mothers.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, you know what I mean? I'm a confirmed chubby chaser, so bring me that Venus of Willendorf any day. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That was the role model in the Stone Age. So they couldn't afford the stupid sexual politics arguments because they had a job to get on with, and there was no hierarchies for men to dominate. The same moment out in between Turkey and Armenia, when the farming revolution took off, which was that was ground zero, they still had a proper, not a feminist, not a patriarchal society, right until they started farming. And within 100 years of farming, you had something called the patriarchy made its first appearance somewhere around about Jericho, and the first patriarchs arrived. So after the Stone Age, sexual politics got nasty. And I don't blame modern Earth women for being a little bit miffed, because they've had it rough since the invention of the patriarchy, and it had to be like opposed by any means necessary. From my own experience, in the Stone Age, women ran things with lots of uninhibited sex, and that worked just fine on the tribal level, and everybody was happy. Things got done. Men got to do the macho warrior stuff and whatnot, and women made the decisions at the appropriate time. Men made the decisions at the appropriate time. Much nicer, and they didn't have all these silly arguments caused by 10,000 years of patriarchy. Another reason why technology can really suck, because one of the things that goes down the minute any intelligent species anywhere in the galaxy takes that tentative step from controlled technological growth that makes you happier and your life better to, whoa, let's settle down and farm, let's go for it. That's the moment where the sex life of that species goes from there to there. And you think that would, like...
You think guys would wake up at that point?
Yeah, at that point, all the other economic power hierarchy, all those arguments, yeah, you can ignore those. But like human, sexual satisfaction, whoomph, right down.
Right. Hey, listen, I'm all for sexual satisfaction, you know. So what's the secret? I mean, can we strike a balance? Is it that technology needs to slow down? Is it that technology has to go backwards? Or is it the technology has to stop dead in its tracks? I mean, can we strike a pleasant balance and can have the grooviness of the Stone Age, but still like, look, I gotta tell you, at this point, I've become emotionally attached to air conditioning. You know what I mean?
If you get through, you can have pretty much of whatever you want, but in that kind of world where everything is free and there's no point of stockpiling it, you tend to want less than in a world where you have to work your arse off for every little bit. So you form an emotional attachment to it. So yes, you have material things and you're not limited to what you carry on your back, like in the Stone Age. But in a society of plenty, and this is where you, although you can't go back technologically or undo any invention once it's been invented, the Stone Age economy was a world of plenty where nobody had to work to provide their sustenance or their shelter. And most of the things that they would have done for work as sustenance, we do now as hobbies when humans aren't working, like camping, hunting, fishing, shooting, gardening.
Right.
Are our hobbies. In the Stone Age, the few hours a week that those buggers had to work was doing what we think of as hobbies when we're not working. It was a really, really funky way to live. And now that technology has reached a stage where you get another age of plenty, where once computer 3D printing and robot factories really kick off, there's not really any reason for human beings to work anymore, which should be a really good thing. It replicates the economy of the Stone Age. So if you survive that process, there's only one economic political model that will get you through that. What the fuck do we do when everybody doesn't have a job? Is the Stone Age economic political model. So that's, in that sense, you don't go back to the Stone Age in terms of technology, but once you're in an age of abundance, if you survive the process, because you probably noticed it's a bumpy ride.
Tell me about it.
Us aliens, because we visit planets in their rock and roll era, which is the era when technology takes off and it's win or lose and it's all an exciting drama, and if you don't see it, none of their stories will be told. It is quite an exciting time to be around, but that is the secret. If you can go from an industrial era economy and political system to a Stone Age economy and political system, virtue of the robot factories, you're pretty much home and dry.
Right.
Because when people are leading the life they lived in the Stone Age, they tend to not be so fucked up all the time.
Right. Well, listen, can't we strike a happy medium? Like, what about like light Bronze Age? You know, not quite Stone Age. You know, we're there. Society hasn't gone all crazy, but we still have things like, you know, kilns and pottery and cuneiform.
That was my.
I'd love to curl up with a good cuneiform, get by the fire. You know what I mean? Read the daily tablet.
My school trip was towards the end of the Bronze Age, and it was game over for that round of Bronze Age civilization. Their writing, everything was wiped out, restart at a earlier setting, and the rot set in with the first, not the first bit of copper, but in between the first lump of copper in a ceremonial axe, which looked really cool.
Yeah.
To bronze, this shit hit the fan, and all the bickering and fighting that the hierarchies and the patriarchy started kicked off big time. So the Bronze Age, it's too late. I would say best time to be around on Earth, funnily enough, late 60s, where things were going very, very well, and then suddenly they weren't, and early Neolithic, both fabulous times to be on Earth. That would be my favorite call if we had a time machine, which we don't. Time machines would spoil everything.
They would? But we were just talking about, because I thought the time machines were the secret. No?
Oh. We travel through time because we're alive for a very, very long time. So in our lifetime, we will see whole epochs going by, and we'll have friends who've been around in other epochs as well. So we travel through time that way. But there is a catch in traveling through time, which means if it does exist, the present will change so much without anybody knowing about it that if there is time travel, you can never know it exists. Because your present vanishes and another one comes and they think that's the real time. So, and even as an advanced alien, I couldn't say for certain this is true. This is why we're still interested in conspiracy theories, and people still listen in the galaxy to your show, is that there are some questions that are unanswerable. And in the advanced world, either there's billions of people time traveling and messing it up each time, so the whole present changes, boom, 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 into something completely different, but nobody knows about it, including us advanced species. Or else probably nobody does it. One of the two.
I know, and the thing about time travel, I mean, I have you here, so I mean, I don't mean to derail the conversation, but I obviously have so many questions about your culture and your people and your perception, and also, some of the bigger questions that humans have been banging around, but, maybe you have some insight in, and this might be small to take that time and to concentrate on something so personal, but I'm plagued by a reoccurring nightmare, and I wanted to share it with you because for some reason I have a heart resonance that tells me that sharing this terrible dream with you will give me some insight. Maybe with your mystically attuned reptilian mind, you'll be able to shed some light on the subject. You know what I mean? And maybe a cold-blooded perspective on things might clear it up for me. Would you mind if I shared with you my
by all means.
Okay. I'm plagued by a consistent nightmare. It goes something like this. So, you know what I mean? The dream is fascinating for its mundane nature. You know what I mean? I find myself in the dream state, doing something simple like making toast or, doing some light paperwork, you know what I mean? Or what have you, or, waiting for a bus. And then all of a sudden I realize that I had voted for Andrew Bashago, but then had woken up in an alternative timeline where he wasn't on the ballot. And then immediately I'm gripped by panic and I wake up. Every night I've been having this dream. What on earth does it mean?
Well, it actually bears out what I was saying when we were discussing time travel, that if theory A, there's billions of the buggers doing it all the time, and every time it changes, you get a whoosh and everything's different, but you don't know it. So from your personal experience, maybe that's the way it is. I choose to believe that nobody's messing around with time, so that like my own story makes some personal sense without it.
Right. And not to be an asshole about this, but just, I really got to tell you, like, I really don't care if there's a world of time travel or not. You know what I mean? I just want this dream to stop. You know what I mean? And at this point, it's not even the cold-blooded terror. It's just the same thing over and over again. It's annoying at this point. Is there anything that you know, any technology that you have at your avail or command that could possibly stop this recurring nightmare where I'm seized by the impression that I've number one, voted for Andrew Basiago for president, but then B, have woken up in an alternative timeline in the dream where he's not even on the ballot. And at this point, I got to tell you something. I don't know where I lost the plot. When I reflect upon the dream, I have no idea if it's a nightmare because I wanted to vote for Andrew Basiago and I've somehow been gypped by waking up in an alternative timeline, or if it's that I didn't want to vote for Andrew Basiago and I realized I've made some horrible mistake, but now I'm left with some sort of existential dread because I can't resolve it in any way, shape, or form because he's in an alternative timeline. Or what's the complication of the fact that I wake up from that dream within a state of ennui? I really just, at this point, it's like a Kafka novel. It's insane. It's like a bad Kafka novel is what I'm trying to say.
Your subconscious always sends you messages.
I know. You know what? It turns out
it's going to let your conscious mind know all about it.
Right.
So any kind of bad dream probably means you're not doing something quite right in your proper life.
That's what my shaman said. So I told my shaman about this nightmare problem. And he said, you know what it is? He goes, it's your higher self, your subconscious mind is trying to send you messages. And I said, yeah, but what does it mean? And he goes, listen, the problem is this. Your subconscious is just as big a jerk as you are. You know? Shamans, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? He's got the accreditation, so I guess he's correct. You know what I mean? What are you going to do?
One of the nice things about living in a spaceship, not so much when you're up there, but when you're on planet and it's floating around, is you get rocked to sleep every night. So you tend to have really nice dreams. That rocking technology is really good. It works on babies, works on grown-ups. When you're gently rocking on the sea or on the river, your dreams rock.
Hey, so maybe that's the secret. Maybe once the ice shelves melt, unlike Guy McPherson's horrible apocalyptic perception, that eventually, when everything is just a little bit underwater, we'll all sleep better at night. And maybe that's it. Maybe, you know, a good night's sleep can make all the difference in the world. If technology has done anything for us, it's certainly been a guerrilla assault upon all things, you know, calming and relaxing, you know what I mean, and conducive towards a good night's sleep.
That's it in a nutshell. All the stresses of any technological life from 9,700 BC to the current day, it's really stressful, and you've got to get up to work. And you didn't have to do that in the old days. And if you make it through the barrier, you won't have to do it in the future. But for everybody who's got the misfortune to be alive in the middle bit, it sucks. You have to do stressful things. For a boss, you have to argue about sexual politics rather than like having nookie whenever you want it with a partner who really enjoys it, like pre-technology. Or, once you get to the future, that living in a technological world actually sucks. It's got some quite interesting cultural things, like rock and roll comes from industrial era technology. And of course, you get magnificent soap opera, huge war epic stories to tell into the future. By then, as a reminder never to do it again, but they make great stories and you can make movies of them for like millions of years afterwards. So nothing goes to waste. But if you're actually a human being or any intelligent species in the short space of your history, remember, most intelligent species don't suddenly appear and then whoomp straight off into a technology race. They usually hang around for quite a while, developing other stuff that you really need before you do the technology. So for any species where the technology race starts off usually after farming, the longer you have before it, to like be funky and get so used to being funky, it's seeped in your genes. It's going to take tens of thousands of years to wash it out with you with horrible patriarchal hierarchy, day job stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, kind of in a way, doing nothing and doing it really well, that's like the future.
So how do we get the, because everyone's searching for, they always say this. Now here's one of these things. It's like everybody's going, oh man, I'm sick of complaining. We want a solution. We want a solution oriented program. But the minute you start suggesting any sort of solutions, people are like, oh man, can't we just go back to complaining? Right? Everybody, you know what I mean? Everybody wants to
I've tried the human art of complaining, because we haven't got anything to complain about in our life. So like, we've never tried complaining before. And I have to say, I know it's wrong, but it's so much fun complaining about things. It's one of the things I really enjoy on Earth. But obviously, if you're living a really funky life, you don't get the opportunity to complain about anything. So I'm enjoying my opportunity while I get it.
Right. So what do we do? Like, how do we get there? How do we get back to that funky Stone Age mentality from here? With hopefully, you know, they say you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. How do we break the de minimis amount of eggs and still get us back to the rock and roll shenanigans of yesteryear?
The beauty of it is you don't have to do anything. It's your history and genetic and emotional and cultural makeup determines what's going to happen. If you don't blow yourself up with nuclear weapons, if you don't strip the environment, if all your economic and political systems don't collapse completely, stopping everything from going round, if all those things happen, automation is an inevitability. That's not science fiction anymore. That's
right.
So people are being.
How do you think that we are going to live really? How do you think this generation alive today, in its various forms and its various stages of development, how do you think we're really going to accommodate or acclimate to the post-work world of tomorrow? Will we take it to it like lazy fish to water, or are we going to resist it as predicted by the documentary film The Matrix, where the architect said famously, "We built you a paradise, and you guys didn't like it. You douchebags like it rough for some reason." Is that a portent of the future? Or can we go smooth and easy into that non-working good night?
Nobody can predict which way it goes, but even looking at it from a human perspective, when the money stops going around, the most obvious solution, and again it can be left or right wing, is a hierarchical, very strict system that you do what you're told or you're shot. That would work quite well in a way, but it's not a very good long-term solution.
Right.
And it produces a life that actually sucks for everybody, so you're better off actually not surviving through that route, because surviving is so horrible. You're better off failing and blowing yourself up with a bomb. On the other hand, if you work out that you had the technology, the emotional technology, to face these technological problems 10,000 years ago, and could reinvent the emotional technology you need to run a Stone Age economy and political system, then suddenly all that automation stops being a curse and becomes a blessing. And us aliens know about it, because we come down to a planet as the jobs are disappearing. We don't get like 30, 40 grand a year jobs just by like knowing future trends and stuff. We get contract jobs in call centers, like everybody else on Earth. We know that automation is coming, because every day when I don't go into work, I can feel it, and we're not allowed to bring stuff down with us because that would spoil the fun. So I really know, as a shape-shifted temporary guest of the human race, automation's coming. And I know from my human friends, automation's coming. And one of the reasons we come down on spaceships is we know by this time asset prices, including houses and places to live, will be up in the stratosphere. And the only way we're going to be able to live on a call center way for the 0-hour contract is if we live in our spaceships and park them off somewhere in the water, because there's no land left to put a caravan or a pod or a whatnot. So yeah, automation can really, really suck. But
yeah,
the secret is, if you've got Stone Age politics and economics, it's a walk in the park.
Speaking about the fact that technology really, really sucks, I have another horrible dream that I want to share with you. Another existential crisis, another Twilight Zone-esque nightmare that I'm constantly battling. Okay, so check this out. The dream goes something like this. I'm in some mundane situation. I'm doing light paperwork, or you know what I mean, I'm changing the tire, or I'm, you know, lying in bed, you know, staring up at the ceiling, wondering what everything means, and you know, and it all means nothing. And then I think to myself, my God, I'm the only conscious, real live human being on this planet, and everyone else is a highly advanced sex robot. and then it gets worse, because then I think to myself, no. The reason that life is constantly fucking me all the time and fucking me over all the time is that no one's a sex robot except me. And then I wake up in a horrible state of dread and sweating bullets.
Now, this is a good example of how do you prepare for the future, because even within your lifetime, science will be able to deliver magic. So in a few decades' time, you could wake up from that dream and press a button and make it come true. That's really scary.
That's really scary, because, you know, what happens?
Yeah, like sending off that email on a group thing rather than just one, or
see, now what's really scary about the scenario is that in a world where I could press a button and have that be the case. Okay, so maybe there's a temptation for me to live through that, you know, to get over my shit. You know what I mean? You know, live it, own it, be it, confront your fear. You know what I mean? Gain your self-confidence back, gain your sense of independence back by confronting that which you fear. But what ends up happening when we cross over that mystical, blurry line where I'm not doing it because I'm not hitting that button, living through this existential nightmare of thinking that everyone else in the world is a sex robot. No. I'm the only one.
Terrible repercussions.
What happens when I cross that blurry meridian where I'm no longer doing it because I'm confronting the fear, but I'm doing it because now I can't get enough of it.
But in about 20 years' time, you'll be able to press that button and the whole thing comes around. But be careful of what you wish for. That's why it's best to have some mental preparation before the technology gets here, because you get faced by dilemmas which are ridiculous now. But in a few years, it's going to be a choice you can make. Like, are you going to have bacon and eggs for breakfast or a slice of toast? It's a simple decision.
Or be a sex robot confronting an existential sense of dread of either being the only sex robot in the world or being in a world of no one but sex robots.
You'd be very busy.
Darth, what if I'm already there? Saying it out loud, all of a sudden I'm looking at the live chat, I'm looking at you, and I'm wondering, truly, what's the nightmare scenario? Is the reality that I'm living this life and I'm confronted and constantly plagued by dreams where I'm either, as we've gone through it enough times, you know, I'm either the sex robot or the only person that's not a sex robot, or that's the reality. I am in a world where I can't tell whether or not I'm the only sex robot in the world or not living in a world of sex robots, and this is the dream. You know?
let's hope for all our sakes that it's the sex robots that's a dream.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
It's going to be a long, hard night.
There you go. Listen, I'm telling you about it. Well, first of all, here's what it is. You live and you learn and you experience it. I guess you know your subconscious tells you. And if there's one thing that I've taken away from that nightmare dream that I'm constantly plagued by every night, the nights that I've gotten off opportunity from having the existential dream of voting or not voting for Andrew Bashago on an alternative timeline that may be or may not be a figment of my imagination, is this: one at a time. In life, one at a time. But I don't know, you know, I may have been off on a little bit of a tangent there. I certainly don't want to waste your time turning you into a kind of cosmological galactic psychologist or psychiatrist. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the problem. You know, people go, you know, what's the deal? You know, well, I keep on telling my dreams to my therapist, but he's a shape-shifting alien from a bizarro world where rock and roll music is the solution. And they said to me, well, maybe that's your problem. And I said to that person, what the fuck would you know, sex robot?
Oh, we can shapeshift. So over a period of time, we get to try lots of different things. We don't have to wear a costume or whatnot. We can actually become what we fancy trying. Every species has an interesting. I mean, what worms get up to is quite interesting. If you're a worm,
right, exactly. You know
kind of way. So we do get to before we settle down and raise little newts. We do like to explore. But as I say, we don't need the robots because we can change ourselves without the robots.
There you go. Well, you know, the thing about this is like the great thing about being a worm is you get to experience the metaphysical wonder of, you know, making love to oneself. The only downside being the self that you're making love to is a worm. You know?
I'm sure many women have had an equally disappointing when they found that their dream has turned out to be a worm. So,
listen, you know, it happens.
It wouldn't be the first disappointment in that department.
What came first, the disappointment or the worm? You know,
exactly.
On the tombstone.
And of course, the bird ended catching up both of them.
Hey, listen, you know what I mean? And then you say to yourself, well, look, I mean, every lifestyle has to come to an end, and you got to face the fact that if the metaphysical writings of the past epochs have taught us everything, is that, you know, we all sign that inevitable soul contract to be eaten by the worm or the bird.
That does happen, but if you get through the barrier, you're going to be around for a while. So you're no longer subject to species wipeout or an asteroid or whatnot. And you've got loads of fellow species traveling out through the universe. So you're going to be around for a while, but not many species make it, no more than half a dozen. So it's.
Are you a gambling shapeshifter? I mean, are you calling odds on this this current Project Earth? Do you think the human race is going to make it, or do you think we're headed towards some dark waters?
Statistically, like Guy McPherson says, the odds are low, and you're kind of going at a really, really breakneck speed. That's the trouble of having too much brain. Sometimes it's better to be a little bit slower and enjoy the journey. So things are not looking great at the moment, but it's never over. I can't use old-fashioned sayings. It's never over till it's over.
Yeah, but that's one of those things. Like time becomes a loop. You know, it's not over until the fat lady sings. It's like Shiva doing its dance. We go back to the Venus of Wollendorf. You know what I mean? Sucked back into the great womb.
Exactly. While there's life, there's hope, and even in the face of the inevitable, fighting to the last man and the last bullet, even if it's in a metaphorical sense rather than a military sense,
right, is
probably the way to go, and not give in. That's I can see a lot of the sense in Guy McPherson, but I think you should always have a go till the last second and do your best.
Right.
Right. A lot of aliens wouldn't come here if for only like 10, 20 years, unless there was some hope of a miraculous turnaround, a sudden use of those clever brains to come up with something just in the nick of time, which you have a track record of doing. But it could work out cool in the end, and you get to like visit Funkyville rather than what you got at the moment.
Well, I knew Guy McPherson when he first got started. When he was first starting his work and starting on his project. I mean, I was a very young man. I was only about 5 or 6 years old. But I remember he shared with me his original manuscripts, and I said to him, I said, well, look, I said, it's a great story, and it's a page turner, it's riveting, but the ending is so depressing.
Funnily enough, I googled the chaps so that I'd know what you've been talking about recently and be able to comment on it. And some very interesting other names came up. And the funny thing about these other names, although they were not talking about what Guy McPherson talked about, but related subjects, is they all expressed scientific hypothesis through the form of a novel, which I found really interesting. A guy called Daniel Quinn, who's, I don't think YouTube was around when he did his stuff, but he had opinions on the Stone Age and technology, and instead of writing a paper, because it's a kiss of death if you're a professional, it's not a popular viewpoint, and he wrote it as a novel, Ishmael, and another novel, The Story of B, and it's quite a nice way to put a hypothesis. So it's not like all facts and figures. You get a storyline in there with it. So that seems to be a feature of his colleagues. So I'm not surprised his work comes out like a story.
Right. And what do you think of? I mean, if you think about Guy McPherson, so here, first of all, it's like the thing about Guy McPherson is I think that's probably, I went through a life cycle with Guy McPherson. I think a lot of people do, which is you discover Guy McPherson and then you spend the next 48 to 72 hours doing nothing except watching Guy McPherson on a YouTube loop going, oh my God, you know what I mean? Until finally, like, I swear to God, my personal life story is with Guy McPherson is I discovered Guy McPherson and within 3 seconds decided, wow, well, he's a scientist and I'm not. So everything he says instantly has validity, right? Then I spent the next 72 hours, if I'm lying, I'm dying, doing nothing but watching Guy McPherson, occasionally taking breaks to go to YouTube and tell people about Guy McPherson, right? And then I go through all the stages of grief, right? Like denial. Who's this Guy McPherson? No one agrees with him. Why would only one guy be out there saying this? To like anger. Fuck you, you know what I mean? This is some bullshit. You're telling people not to have kids and not to live. Your mother, you know what I mean? To like, fear. Like, what if he's right? What if he's right? Finally, like acceptance. Well, we all gotta die sometime. You know what I mean? And then immediately, what happens next is that Google, I guess, the Google algorithm wakes up and you've run through all the Guy McPherson Nature Bat's last 5-minute clips that you can. You've heard that guitar music and you've heard him say at the edge of extinction, all that's left is love, right? You hear them say it 10,000 times. And then Google's like, well, you might as well hear what somebody else has to say. And they're immediately like, recommend a video of the person being like, hey, by the way, Guy McPherson is wrong. And then the spell is instantly broken. You're like, what the fuck was I thinking? And you never know. I mean, who do you know in this post? You got half the people saying one thing, half the people saying another. You know what I mean? I go like the safest bet in the world is to bet on the world ending at some point because eventually one of these days you're going to be correct, right?
If he is true, the best thing you can do is not to waste 1 second listening to his videos.
Right. Hey, don't knock my hobby.
Which, ironically, is what he says in his videos, is that you shouldn't be watching my videos, you should be living your life, that's a nicer message to go on. But, as I say, from an alien, you can't tell what's going to fuck you up until it happens. And
Right.
Nobody can put money on it. It is so unpredictable. And there can be a last-minute goal in penalty time.
There you go.
So nobody knows. Although I found his work entertaining, and so obviously based on evidence, nobody can tell for certain what's going to happen first.
Right.
But it's in the lap of fate still, everything to play for.
Right. And apropos of nothing, this might be a little bit of a non sequitur, but I'm thinking about like this, like, you know, like on planet Earth, you know, you got all sorts of different types of people from all sorts of different cultures. We're all human beings. We've learned to refer to ourselves in the grander scheme of Homo sapiens sapien as human beings or whatever, while we still have these acknowledged subsets. As an alien who's known and experienced multiple other species and interacted probably with multiple species at the same time, right? Is there a notion or a word for just like things that are alive? Like in the notion of this, like even if like the Earth goes dead as a cue ball, right? The human beings are done for. But if there's life in other places, is there like a sense where
if we
not
have
a big deal
any,
because
if we have any measure of wealth, as you would understand it, we have a singles chart and an albums chart. That's like our government, and other forms of wealth we measure in terms of diversity. So diverse planets with lots of diverse life at every level, and those individual lives having maximum diversity of cultures. So they're growing not just genetically inside, but the culture of each species. Because even lower down the food chain, you still have some kind of developing culture as the level of consciousness increases. So from our point of view, cultural and genetic diversity are how we measure wealth. That's how we measure planets we're interested in having a look at. If humans muddle through to the point that you can have endless number of human beings with no environment, but like life isn't very funky, you wouldn't get anybody coming down from other planets. There would be not an alien within light years of the place, because you'd be down to a couple of species. There'd be no diversity. And at the same time, you can bet cultural diversity. All those billions and billions and billions of humans wrapped around the planet will be living identical lives with no cultural diversity. So the inconveniences that you get from members of species having different cultures is worth it. Different cultures is better. It's how you get to demo one. You imagine if human beings only ever had one culture, if you got it wrong or got it right, you wouldn't know. You'd have nothing to measure it by. When you have hundreds or thousands or even millions of individual cultures, it's the best man wins. It's a race to the top. If you see the guys next door having a party and your life sucks, you know which one is coming out. So, yeah, lots of different cultures. And that's what we come for, culture, entertainment. Be entertained, try and entertain. So,
speaking of the lack of cultural diversity, I hate to name drop or to just ask, like about celebrity gossip and whatnot. But have you ever met a blue avian? Have you happened to in your travails across the galaxies and universe?
Before I googled to look for their album, because I mean, Blue Avian, you would think it was a band, which would mean yes, they were actually aliens, but the weakness in their plot lines that you've been picking up on recently and their total lack of music probably means they're not aliens. But if you're going to tell an alien story, make the narrative kind of work. But I tell you what I do like about that whole alternative conspiracy world, from our alien point of view, where we come to be entertained as well as to try and entertain. It's like a story that's been written not by one writer, not by an established media, not necessarily a theatre, by hundreds and thousands of different people all adding their little bit to the story. And it's actually creating like Homer's Odyssey, but in a democratic way, from loads and loads of people interacting and watching that story, even if it's total bollocks. sometimes you can watch a movie that's total bollocks and enjoy it.
Right. No, yeah, I could dig it. My fear is that we've got too many writers. You know what I mean? That like much like you were talking about technology moving too fast. I think it's not that I'm opposed to, and I'm totally digging that metaphor and that vibe for it. That is like watching like a democratically made movie.
Ultimate urban legend in 8 volume.
I just wish they would slow down with the plot developments a little bit. Does it have to be so meta? Can we just go back to a little bit of that old Boy Meets Girl in the Stone Age?
Yeah, that's the downfall. Although as a punter, I'm really entertained and intrigued by the kind of democratic, spontaneous storyline where you don't know where the fuck it's going. You really don't, because there's not lots or whatever, except the power of the human imagination. I really enjoy that aspect. But on the other hand, aliens like narratives. We don't just go around looking for music, we go around looking for narratives and stories that make sense with beginnings and middle and ends that we can pass on even if the species disappears. Stories need to be told, especially if they're cracking good stories. So that's the alien point of view, and that's why there is a market for shows like yours on a galactic level, because to us, it's a story being weaved, and we're going to be around for a while, so we can see whether this slightly contradictory story might metamorphose into who knows what. It might become the greatest democratic artwork in galactic history and go down in history maybe long after humans have disappeared. So I do kind of like it, but the lack of storyline drives me crazy. And a little hint of whether somebody's a real alien or not, real alien storyline tends to hang together without contradicting itself.
Right. Yeah, I said, say what you want about aliens and their probes. At least those motherfuckers can write. That's what I've always said at the board meetings.
Yes. Yeah. We got long life, so it's nice if you make a story of it that you can think about when you're like hanging out, chilling in between adventures. It's nice to turn your life into a story rather than the drudgery of what you get used to in an industrial technological age, where your story is get up, go to work, fulfill your responsibilities, a little bit of me time, do it all over again. That's not I think most people, given some time, would not choose to live that way if there was a better way to do it.
Now, listen, I'm sorry for being so socially uncouth as to bring up the probes. I know it's a touchy subject.
Anal probes, right? That's a alien race who's going out of fashion on the conspiracy sites. That there is actually one alien race which is not level 3, which is here on Earth, which you all know and love. The Greys.
Those guys.
Grey by nature. Yes, they have an intergalactic society based on debt. And it's a Ponzi pyramid scheme that's been going for like millions of years. And if your planet gets infested by Greys, then it's pretty game over for your monetary system. And looking at the situation of the monetary system and your banks here on Earth, the Greys are well established. They lead unbelievably humdrum lives. They've been in debt for like hundreds of millions of years, so you can imagine how much fun they're having. It's not fun being in debt. Right. The only fun they get is they get their rusty old bucket, old technology spaceships. They go out anal probing on their day off.
Hey, listen, you got to do something, right?
That's all they got, man.
It's like a cycle of violence, you know what I mean?
give generously. But it is actually a metaphor, because the Greys are a complete pain in the arse, whether you're being probed or whether you found that your positive bank account has suddenly turned into a whole list of negative zeros. That's Greys. They do both suck and blow at the same time.
Tell me about
it. It's not something we're happy with, but Greys go wherever debt is. If you've got a debt ridden society, there's not much we can do about it. But if they were a malignant species going on planet Earth, not that there's any within galaxies distance of here, so you don't have to worry, but the Greys, there's no point shooting them. As long as you've got debt, there's lots of those buggers. They're going to flock here, and the only way to stop them, the only way to stop the anal probing, the endless anal probing, is not have a debt-based economy. Then you won't have any Greys. So yes, it is both a painful and sometimes amusing subject. And if you're of the kind disposition, you feel for people who are really unhappy, that's the only ray of sunshine they ever get. So next time you've been probed, have a heart.
Right, you know what I mean? It reminds me of that. It reminds me of that old joke. You know, there's two guys hanging out, and every night they're camping, and every night one of them gets kidnapped by the aliens, by the Greys. And he comes back to the other guy and he goes, "Oh my God, it's terrible." He goes, "Every night they kidnap me, and it's this constant anal probing." Because it couldn't get any worse. Couldn't get any worse. And then one day, you know, his friend, one day, it's always the same guy, night after night after night. And then one day, the other guy gets taken. And he comes back the next day, he's in tears, and he's crying. And his friend turns to him and goes, you know, "Hey, listen, buddy, you know, what are you so upset about?" He goes, "This has been happening for me night after night after night for like thousands of nights. You just got it one time." He goes, "You were wrong." He says, "It could get worse." He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "There was no anal probe. They made me do their taxes."
Exactly. A lot of the urban legends about Greys are actually true. That they are the most obvious species, because level 3 aliens tend to be polite guests. You don't notice them unless they got an album out, and then they try and get noticed. But the Greys, you notice them, especially if you're being probed.
It's hard to mistake that.
You can't fail to notice.
Right. You know what I mean? Talk about disclosure.
It is anybody who's got debt, which is like nearly everybody in the world now. They're all in danger of being probed. Once you owe them, you owe them. Can't pay in cash, got to pay in kind. So
you know,
it's a Grey-free world.
Right, ask grass or gas, everybody gets probed. You know what I mean? It's just the way that it goes, baby.
But it's as simple as that. If you don't have a debt-based world, Greys go away. You don't have to shoot them or nothing.
All right, hey, listen.
Then humanity will have to do its own anal probing.
Which is no problem. I mean, we're gonna have time on our hands. You might as well probe yourselves.
As a sex doll, you could probably get employment.
I know, exactly. Over and over and over again. Oh my God. So listen, well, I mean, while we're on the subject of debt-based societies and galactic wisdom, what's your take on this whole cryptocurrency that's driving the world on fire? It's getting all sorts of people
excited. It's another
excited.
system of Greys that most people think that any aliens who visit, who aren't like funky rock and roll aliens, are going to either steal your resources, steal your women, steal your men, run bizarre cults that make people do silly things for no apparent reason, kill, execute, all the rest of it. And they don't really take into account that kind of easygoing aliens are not kind of do that thing. So I have to admit that this fine earth weed has made me lose my train of thought.
It's working. It's working.
It's working.
This is what I think what we call the reverse alien payback. All this talk about anal probes, right? You might find your mind drifting into a certain mood. Let's do this now that your mind is off on a track. That's good. That's exactly where we got you. This is where we're gonna get the truth out of you. So, do you have some time for some Q&A? This seems like an appropriate time for Q&A.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna take this time to reorient my get up here a little. I'm gonna bring over my little alien friend here for no reason whatsoever. There you go. Look at this. Everyone, Ooh.
It's the grand.
I know my audience, and at around 11 o'clock at night Eastern Standard Time, all they want is a little bit of this. Whoa! It's like he's fucking flying, dude. There he goes, man. Whoa, where's he going? So check this out, audience. Now is the time for a little musical Q&A. So if you got some side conversations going, I'm sure you do. Let's bring them down a notch. And we're gonna ask if you got any questions for the masters of the Illuminati. You know, we spend so much time speculating on what the Illuminati is up to, what's the nature of alien life, what they're really doing, what there really is going on. Now is your time. Now is your time for inquiries and questions. So if you got, yes, this is cool. So if you got any questions, go ahead and put them in all caps, and I'll give them to the man when he comes around. And we'll see where we go. Drum roll, go ahead. So here we go. Okay, what is the deal with Simon Parkes? What is the deal with Simon Parkes? Any opinion on the illustrious, the infamous or infamous Simon Parkes?
I'd like to ask that question myself, because he's built up quite a following on Earth. But he's not an obvious rock and roller. He certainly hasn't got any albums out, and he's not the funkiest performer around. So, like, we're kind of disappointed, because most people who claim to be aliens do come up with an entertaining, if not bizarre, storylines. So, yeah, I'm as bemused by Simon Parkes as you are.
Great. Have you ever met any mantis beings? There's a lot of buzz. If you're talking about Simon Parkes, you're obviously going to want to talk about the mantid beings. Any opinion on the mantids?
Not one of our lot, but most alien stories, apart from the Greys, are bollocks. The big ones, yes, there are masters of the Illuminati. Yes, there are Greys. Yes, there's a few other species. But most alien stories are like a showbiz story, like a novel.
Right. Here's a kind of open-ended question. This is one that's kind of like, doesn't give you a lot to go on, but I think they're asking the big question here. The big question, what's the deal? What's the deal?
The deal is everything's up to you. There's no intervention, 7th Cavalry from outside. We're here because it's funky. So whatever's going on here on Earth, don't expect intervention from outside. That's the kind of deal.
Okay. And I'm going to be honest, don't be offended, but I got to tell you, if the chat wants to know one thing, they want to know about the ski mask. Specifically, I don't think they're asking what's the deal with the ski mask. There's a lot of speculation about how sweaty you are and what does the ski mask smell like. I mean, it's not a very politically correct question. The guess, but if I don't ask it, the live chat is going to think that I'm not paying attention. They want to know about the ski mask. It's various levels. Its general level of humidity and moisture, its age, and what does it smell like?
Better than you would expect.
Better than you. There you go. So now you got your answer.
A lot better. Our reptilian forms might be a bit of a shocker to you, but the mask is nowhere near on that scale.
So this is kind of almost a philosophical question. This is like really like kind of like almost metaphysical in its way. I guess their says cannot speculate if you are already an Illuminate, can you? I guess they're kind of asking is that if you're an Illuminati master, what's your ability to
right, no, that's a good question. If you're a reptilian shapeshifting master of the Illuminati, you can shapeshift. If you can't shapeshift, you're probably not. So it's an easy method to tell.
Okay. Here's one. Here's one for from the panicked lot. Is everything going to be okay?
Again, that's up to you. But it's technology is not all the ways the blessing that you think it is. It's what happened in the 60s. Turn on, tune out, drop out is what everybody can do. if everybody dropped out from the system and did their own thing, things would be a lot better.
Okay. Who decorated the White Room? Who decorated the White Room?
I don't understand the question.
Neither do I.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
It sounds like lyrics from one of our songs, and I wouldn't remember because I've had one split too many.
There you go. There you go. Hey, you know, it's one of those things you're trying to remember your own lyrics, and then all of a sudden the moon rides by on a bike.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's
why
you know what I mean?
don't do the singing.
There you go.
They just come off.
Yeah. Here's a request for some physical humor, I guess, some physical comedy. Can you shift a little for us? I don't know if I'm assuming they're meaning physically, but maybe they're talking, you know, mentally.
Oh. Right.
Here we go. Now here's great. This is like an instant moment of inspiration. Here's what we're gonna do. No, grab the ukulele. Do what you were just doing. Kind of loop that shit, right? Like a beat. Okay. And I'm gonna freestyle rap over it, but I'm gonna freestyle rap based on words that people put into the live chat. So everyone pick one word to put in the live chat, and I'm gonna try and turn it into a beat, a rap over this music. So here we go. What? Does he know Tiptoe? Does he know Metallica? Yes. Ha-ha! Rufus, light, candy cane. Don't hide. Anatomical tentacle born water bugs. Join. USBC. Flow. Synchronicity. Not faster. Big letters. What? Elephant. Travel. W. 14 words. Hell. Burger. Revolution. Trick. Woo. That's it. Get involved.
CW.
Taking it to the next level, yo. Verbose. For sure. Verbose. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, they'd be like, they're taking rap to the next level. You know what I mean? We'd be on the cover of Wire magazine. You know what I'm talking about? They'd be all over that. Be like, is it wrong? Is it abstract? Is it mistaken? Their crude take on experimental hip hop draws sharp parallels between the hip hop of today and the wordsmithery of the lost poets. Meanwhile, it's just people in San Francisco getting high. Hipsters for show. Dude, absolutely, man, absolutely. So, we do have to get our requisite plugs in. You know what I mean? I know you're here on the CW Chanter show, the big show, right? The what Johnny Carson is to the big leagues, CW Chanter is to this crazy realm of the conspiracy world internet. take some time, take some moments here to plug your new projects. What's going on with Masters of the Illuminati? I know you guys are going to be dropping a new album soon. Do we have a timeline on that? Do we know what's going on?
Going to be a couple of months yet before we finish the album. Going to come out on plastic, like proper music.
You heard that right, folks. Vinyl, right?
There's no digital unless you're in space when a turntable won't work with all the gravity. Everywhere else is plastic. So coming out on plastic, you put it on a turntable like proper stuff. In the meantime, we've got about half a dozen of the tracks up on our YouTube channel, which if Stephen Greer's out there or David and he fancies like having the Masters Illuminati as his support act at his next tour, which would just so rock. I just love the thought of his opening act being the Masters Illuminati.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't mind either, you know.
Afterwards, it would just be so absolutely rock and roll. So, yeah, check out the YouTube channel, especially if you're a alien disclosure person who wants to check out aliens. We've also got a couple of videos which are a bit dry, but explain our background for those who are interested in that kind of stuff. It's not got so much red zaniness or music or dancing, but it does explain where we're coming from and a little interesting snippet of human history from an alien point of view for people who might be interested in that. So, yeah, YouTube, Masters Illuminati. Watch out for us when the plastic comes out. Hopefully, we'll be able to get over this terrible reptophobia in the music business and go out and do a bit of gigs. So, be the first, live long and prosper.
Right. So one last question I got to ask you before you go. Catherine Austin Fitz, is she just a honey, or do you think that she's got some actual intellectual prowess?
She's got an accountant's background. That's clearly provable. That she's spent her life doing accountancy, and she's quite good with figures. So,
meow.
That's a strong suit. And the reason I like her is she's got a ring of evidence showing that all the zeros are going off the planet.
Right. Oh, you know, when I saw that ring of evidence, I was just like, ring of evidence, Saturn. I'm woke. David Icke woke me up, man. I know. I see ring. I know Saturn. You ain't pulling the wool over these eyes. You ain't pulling the wool over these baby blues.
That's the magic of David Icke. And maybe have you considered that everybody who says stuff on the internet are themselves a member of a secret cabal who dream up their stories together in concert?
That reminds me, oh my God, you know what I mean? I forgot about it, but I've got a third terrible nightmare.
Okay, we might as well make it a trilogy.
You might as well make it. Well, that's why, you know, listen, you know, and it's funny because when I went to Hollywood with my terrible existential nightmares, I thought I was in a psychiatric office. I wandered in and I sat down on the couch, right? And I looked up and I didn't even wait for formalities of introduction. I just started telling them my existential dread. And I told him the first terrible nightmare about, voting for Basiago, not voting for Basiago. What does it mean? I don't even know. I told him the second nightmare, and they said, we love it. We love it. We love it. But today's world, it's all about the trilogies. Do you think you can get a third film out of there? And I said, third film? I said, this is my existential dread. This is my psyche tearing itself apart, tearing itself literally to the surface of my soul, to where it bursts out from me. This ephemeral tragedy. I don't know whether to cry dry tears. I'm all cried out, and they said, "Well, this is not a psychiatric office. This is, we're agents." And I said, "Really?" They said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, okay." So I told them I immediately said, I just pulled out my ass. I told them about a third dream. Okay, here's the third dream. You ready? You ready for the dream?
I'm ready.
Nightmare, you sure?
Bring it on.
Okay, because I don't want to be like, tell it to you and be like, spoiler alert. So here it comes, right? So I'm talking to a guy, right? It's like this surreal scene. The movie opens up and there's no introduction. You don't know who these cast of characters are. It's kind of like the Seven Dwarves meets Voyage of the Damned,
Okay.
right?
Good. Yeah.
And I'm talking to this guy, you know what I mean? He's like a kind of a nautical environment. And then I'm like, okay, if you're the masters of the Illuminati, and I think I know the inside skinny on how conspiracy theory world really works, and I've spent all my time, and I know how conspiracy theory world works because I spent all my time reading books by David Icke and Manly P. Hall, you know what I mean, and the Secret Doctrine and all this stuff. I go, my God, you know what I mean? Maybe it's all my fault. All this shit that people have been complaining about, like that there's that Hindu philosophy called Advaita that says, really what it's all about is waking up to the fact that you're God, really. You know what I mean? Perception is perception, and you manifestation is reality, and visualization. You're having the experience that you want to experience, and that you aren't the what's being done. You are the doer. And I thought to myself, my God, I've got a lot to answer for.
Hollywood.
What does it mean?
In Hollywood, you can pay for all your sins in one go. It will suck your soul dry.
That's what they promised me. But I gotta tell you something. When they were done, I was like, well, my soul has been sucked dry. You know what I mean? I was like, really? I get it. But then I think the dirty little secret is you go home and everyone just like, you don't want to go home and be like, yeah, I went out to Hollywood and got my solid, like my compromised my eternal soul, kind of, right? You kind of want to, so you just keeps the game going by creating this illusion. You just end up going back home and go, yeah, totally. Oh, I lost my soul in LA. Ooh, you know what I mean? Illuminati for the win. Yikes.
It's very, very easy to do, to get sucked into it so that something you love becomes a burden. But that's the poison of money.
Right.
That once that comes into the equation, it does kind of fuck it up a bit, to say the least. So yeah, I'm not surprised your experience in Hollywood was unpleasant. If you'd been mega successful, it would have been far more unpleasant.
Right. Well, that's what they say. All I'm just asking for is the opportunity to learn that level of disappointment. They keep on telling me it's not all it's cracked up to be, and I say I'll believe it when I see it. It's like, money can't buy you happiness. Yeah, well, it can't hurt. You know what I mean? Let me test that theory. Okay, I'll try it out, and then I'll tell you. But then here's this. The other thing about Hollywood, I realize, and you probably, as a master of the Illuminati, you probably know this. So you get to the Eyes Wide Shut party, right?
Okay.
And like any party, you mean, you can have the best, accoutrement, you can have the best costuming, you can have the right hors d'oeuvres, right? You can have the right set and setting, and sometimes the party just doesn't pop off. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just like a lame party, right? So I got invited to one of these Eyes Wide Shut parties, right? And I'm all excited. I'm like, oh my, I've seen the movie, you know what I mean? Like, I'm excited, for like a real Eyes Wide Shut party. You know what I mean? There was going to be spirit cooking. I was stoked. I went hungry. You know what I mean? I ate lightly that day just to make sure that my appetite wasn't spoiled. Wanted to really, do it for what it was worth, right? And then I got there. Maybe this is just like me and my like low self-esteem, but the party just, wasn't that exciting. You know what I mean?
I got an invite to one of those parties in England, in a way that's far more bizarre than any of my alien claims. I was visiting a alien friend whose spaceship is moored up on the East Coast in a beautiful little river, and we spent 3 days messing around in the boat. No washing facilities, river mud right up my jeans, and then I caught the train back. And on the train back, there was a lady heading to one of those parties who'd already knocked back part of a bottle of vodka and invited me to share the rest. So I shared it with her, and she got like really, 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 I'd like a drink, but she got really, really pissed. And it didn't even notice that I smelt a bit and I was covered in river mud, and I hadn't changed my clothes for 3 days because I'd been boating. And she wanted me and was insisting I come to the sex party with her. Now, that would have been exciting if I turned up caked into river mud, smelly to high heaven, with a really 5 sheets to the wind lady companion who was going to be embarrassingly drunk if my appearance didn't put them off. I chickened out, but I would have loved to go just to see the look on everybody's faces when the pair of us walked in, and suddenly it might not have been sexually erotic in the way that one might have hoped, but it would certainly have been full value entertainment.
There you go. Right. Well, you blue chickened out. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? But it's one of those things. You know what I mean? Like you know, because like, look, I mean, the thing about sex parties is that everyone is somebody's jackpot. That's what I'm figuring. So there could have been someone at that sex party who was like probably sitting there going, "Man, you know, it's a good sex party, but you know, why doesn't anything crazy happen? Like a really drunk lady show up with a guy caked in river mud." You know what I mean?
But look at the
Robert
danger.
Frost play. It's a Robert Frost poem. You know what I mean? The river mud not taken.
I might end up with a squeeze who likes rough, smelly people who are covered in river mud, and that would not be my ideal.
Something, you know what I mean?
I avoided that scenario just in case, but it would have been so delicious.
You never know. You know, hey, it's one of those things. But you know what? You know, the great thing about being a reptilian, shape-shifting alien from beyond planet Zero that plays in a rock and roll band is that you may have passed up that sex party experience. You never know what's next.
Yes, we arrived here a while ago, so we got the tail end of the 70s and the 80s, and the beauty of that low-tech era was you still had the rock and roll lifestyle. All gone now. You don't even get a second look unless you're the lead vocalist, guitarist. Forget it. So, yes, it's not what it was.
Hey, tell me about it. You know what I mean? If you want to hear about a bad sex party, I'll tell you about my last time at Contact in the Desert. No pun intended. Dusty. Woo!
Nice. Yeah, there's a slight flaw in that plan, is it?
There you go. Exactly. You know what I mean? Say what
latex fetishes would do well there, because at least they'd be protected head to foot in latex.
True that. But latex is a very hot look. It's a hot look, but both coming and going. You know what I mean? It's like you know, I've played in enough rock and roll clubs and enough goth bands to know that latex may look great, but man, whoo,
it can
get warm
under,
in there.
Under lights. Yeah. So yeah, you're onto a loose gut. So I think I'll give that one a miss. I'll stick to sex parties with drunk ladies and river mud.
There you go. So, you know, listen, so my friend, so, you know, it depends on what you want to do. We could wrap it up. We could keep going. I don't know what you've got on your agenda. I know we got started a little bit late, which is my fault. And, you know what I mean? We always have a fantastic time when you come out and come by. I definitely don't want to shut you up if there's some stuff that you want to talk about before we leave. But if we're starting to get a little bit tired, we can head on, mosey on down towards the closing end.
Right, I think let's wrap it and not use it all up in one go. And
there you go.
The situation we're in at the moment is we're a work in progress. We can't announce like million-seater tour or anything. So let's hold back the horses and save a bit for next time.
Sounds good to me, my brother. Sounds good to me. We'll see you guys back here in a couple of years when we're up to booking a 1 million place tour. If Guy McPherson's predictions and dreams of tomorrow, oh my God, what if Guy McPherson is the dreaming sex robot? We got to chill him out, right? Maybe he's making it happen with the power of his mind. We got to send him a mental intention. You know what I mean? We all got to fuck Guy McPherson. River mud be damned, right? Belize river mud be damned. We got whatever. We got to get that guy a legitimate haircut, right? And get him laid. That's the situation, right? Right up. One drunk lady on the way to the castle event sex party, and he'll be like, you know what? I think we got about 15, 25 years here. Stretch it out just a bit. You know what I mean? There you go. Well, folks, from me, from you, to the Masters of the Illuminati, thank you. Darth Novello of Masters of the Illuminati, thank you so much for coming and gracing the CW Chanter with your wonderful energy, your vibe, and your ukulele mastership. It's always an amazing time when you're here. We always have a great old time. Subscribe to Masters of the Illuminati. I swear, God is my witness. David Icke is my witness. I will edit the description of the video to include the YouTube link to the Masters of the Illuminati. Check them out. One of the great kick-ass. The Reptilians have come to planet Earth as a great rock and roll band, folks. You got to check these guys out. Masters of the Illuminati, Masters of the Illuminati, Masters of the Illuminati. Check it out. They're the only Masters of the Illuminati you're probably going to see in this world before disclosure. So check them out and check out and wait. Hold your horses till the record comes out. And if you don't have a record player, go ahead and buy one. Seriously. Okay, folks. Darth, you want to play us out, baby?
Yeah, I reckon to offset the hard rocky thing we do when we're playing, I like to cleanse my ears with a bit of Disney magic.
Oh, here we go.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
That's a sex pill. So Darth played. Thank everyone for coming out tonight. I'm going to thank the people in the live chat. Brandon Young, Jeff, Beanie, Mr. Scott, Steve Ray, Darcy, Rooster Sideburbs, Xenomorph, Effluent for You, Reemsey, everyone who came out, man, thank you for coming out. Juxtapose, LLX, Ellie, Golden Coin 100, Mary Jugliski, Mark Dobbs, David Lux. All right, David Lux coming out. Who else we got here? Esoteric. You know how long Esoteric it took me to get your name? Darcy. All right. Everyone who came out. Hopefully I didn't miss you. If I missed you, I'm so sorry. Modwiz, Radagast, Speculum Nish. All right. Thank you all for coming out. I think we got everybody. Steve Ray. All right. Oh, Annie Mill. All right. There you go. Porn star name. Gandolfo the Ghost. All right. Joseph Wildman. 9. Used to be 1. Never died. Aaron. All right. Schmicky 86. All right, lols to you. Here we go. Is that everyone? Just don't want to miss anybody. If I got everybody. Mama Truth. All right, Chanter go on basis just for a laugh if they invite me, which they will not. Ice Sphere, shout out to you. I think I got everybody. Think I got everybody. Reemsey, Speaking of this, we got you. There you go. I think we got everybody. I think we're all in there. If I missed you, I'm so sorry. You're all part and parcel of the show. You're all so great. You're all so great. From me, from Masters of the Illuminati to you, thank you so much for coming out. God bless you and good night. We love you. We truly do.